I've been looking up the serial number on this bike on the internet there, and you can look up all the Harleys from the first time they made them. And by the serial numbers, you can tell what model it is. And I thought this was an FXRS. I bought this sticker and put it on there. With the S on it, it's like $100. This was like 20 bucks. They're all in the FXR line. But I thought this was an FXRS 1985 low glide. And they're called low glide for part of 84 and 85, and then they just called it a low rider. But looking at my serial number, they made 3 models that year. In 1985 they made FXRS C, and that was a custom, only came in one color. They made, I think, 1,050, around 1,100 of them, and they came with a candy apple, copper, gold, orange, burnt orange kind of color. Only came in one color. They came with a lot of chrome extras, chrome derby covers and heads, and a lot of chrome stuff on it. Chrome center console here. And they're a pretty rare bike, really nice bike. And they had a tan seat. That was the difference of them. We had one at our shop. I remember it very clearly. It was a really different bike. It didn't sell for the longest time because of that tan seat on it. But then they made another model. So they made the standard, the FXRS standard low glide. And then they made the FXR-SC custom, and then they made the FXR-SP Sport Edition. That's what this bike is. This is on the serial number, has EG. EB is standard, EG is Sport Edition, and they were custom. You could order them with the custom shocks, a little bit longer front end, and they were comparable to the FXS-RT, the Sport Touring Glide. But this was the Sport Edition, and that's what this bike is. They're pretty rare, and I don't know how, some people, one guy said they made 161, another guy said they made 300. I don't know. They only made, you got all different numbers on there. One guy said they made 8,000 FXs that year, of all models, and another guy said they only made 5,000 of all models, or 5,200. And I'm thinking there's probably closer to 1,000 or 1,200 of these. I don't know, but two guys say, the one guy said they called Harley and said there was only 161 made. But I'm sure there's more than that, because you see a lot of posts of them on the internet, so there's got to be more than that. But some of the difference are, like I say, it's supposed to be a 2-inch longer front end, higher ground clearance. Let's see if I can tell here. I got this bike pulled down, clamped down, so it's not going to be too accurate. But yeah, it says 7.5. I got it at 7 there now, because I've got the forks pulled down, so that's one of the differences. Oh, seat height was the other difference. It's going to be a little lower. It's supposed to be 29. Yeah, that's 29 up there, I believe. And the rear shocks were supposed to be 1 inch longer. It's supposed to give you a higher ground clearance for cornering. And I think they were supposed to come with the chrome cylinder heads, covers, and the derby cover, and the center console. And you know, a lot of people, and I think these little chrome covers here too. Somebody said these little covers were in the chrome guard here. A lot of them were just the black. And you see these, I don't know if this is aftermarket or not, but the other ones are all black plastic, and this is heavy gauge steel. I don't know if there's a part number in there. Don't think there's a part number in there. Maybe it's aftermarket, I don't know, but it's pretty good quality. I'm gonna put it back on there. So, yeah, that's the difference for this bike. Makes it a little bit more rare, not very many made. They're saying, you know, 2000, or is it 2000 or, you know, 2020, even Harley makes about 300,000 to 350,000 bikes a year. Well, back in the 80s, 50,000 was a good year, 35 to 50,000. In 1985, there wasn't that many bikes made at Harley. I think there was 35 or 36,000 total bikes produced. It's kind of a lower end year. But this is the first 1985. They made this bike in 1984. Not the SP, but the Low Glide. And the beginning of the year, they were shovel heads, and then they went to an Evolution, and then they were chain drive for 1984, and then this was the first year for that belt drive for the Low Glide, or the Low Rider. So that's what some of the differences are in this bike. I know my horn is supposed to go down here underneath the frame, tuck it up under there, but I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to check, since I got the clutch apart, this is a common problem on the early FXRs, where you have the throw out that goes over top of the transmission here, this arm, is that the throw out release, or the clutch release lever, I believe it's called, inside here, they break or split or crack. And remember I was saying I had the clutch didn't feel right. It just doesn't feel right. I tried to adjust it, and I kept adjusting, and it wasn't getting any tighter. So I'm going to pull this off and inspect it, and that's what I'm going to do today. Just check that out, and I'm going to order a spare. Everybody says keep a spare with you. Okay. Just had my ratchet. I just had it in my hand. Let's see if this will work. This is a pretty common failure on these bikes. It's always good to keep a spare with you. Wasn't planning on changing this oil, because I think this is the one that looked pretty good. Just these two here. I'm gonna have to get a wrench. Would have been easier to do this with that pipe off. So this model, the Fxrs SP, this is the bike, the first real sport bike, handling bike, the 1985 model. This is the very first year and model. They had the sport touring one, but and I used to drive that one every day. That was our demo bike at the dealership. We had a red one. I hated it. Oh, it was gangly. I hated that bike. Piece of crap, I thought. Man, now they're so collectible. I know a guy that's got one in Sarnia. Might even be the one that I used to ride. Come on, let's do a gunner off there. Hey. screw it out, eh? Yeah. There we go. The oil was pretty clean. Oh. So this is the fork here that goes, brakes. That gasket's broken now, so I got to clean that all up. There's some gouging and some wear right in here. On that one corner there, there's some gouging and wear there. And two shims on either side. I'm going to have to clean that gasket up. I'll let it drain. And I'll order a spare one of those. Maybe I'll keep that as the spare and I'll put a new one in there. I guess the aftermarket ones don't last as long as the original Harley ones, so I'll see if I can get an original Harley one. Okay. This gasket is like baked on there. I've been scraping and scraping it. Just a little bit at a time, but you can get a scrub pad for your right angle grinder here. It works really good. To take this apart and change this finger, release finger, you just take off this 1/2-inch bolt at the top. Just remember the location. Fork's on this side and your lever is on the left. And then there's a little clip. There's a little clip in here to release. A little spring clip. Little clip like that. You can check to see if this is starting to get sloppy or worn out or anything. Got some wear in my shaft here, but still good. And you can see the wear on here, on the finger. It's got a little rough spot in here and it's flattened off right here. Yeah, I'm gonna try to get another one. Keep this as a spare. Meanwhile, though, I'm going to make this gasket. In case I can't get this for a month or two, at least I'll make a gasket and I can put it back together. That's what I'll do next. The separate hole here is the tappet screen, the pressure valve. They sell a screwdriver tip you can put on your ratchet. I used to have one, can't find it, and I forgot there's a name for it. Spud driver, something like that. I can't think of it. But this works. Get a washer that fits in there nice and tight. There's a little bit of dirt around that outside there. I'm gonna wipe that off first. Can't really get at it with the screw in there. So if I just put a little bit of oil on here, and leave the screen in. And if anything does fall in, I'll pull it out with the screen. There. I don't know how well you can see on there, but there's some dirt in there. Yeah, maybe like that. You can see there's some fine sediment in the bottom of that. So carb cleaner works good for that. Brake cleaner, carb cleaner. Compressed air. This bike's wet sumping. It's pretty common. So I'm going to start by cleaning the screen, and then we're going to do a little remedy on that check vault. Do it one more time. There. It looked like little fine hair was in there before, and you can see now it's nice and clean. That should probably be done every oil change. Most people never do it. Fits inside the spring like that. Oh, I almost fucking stuck that fucker in there backwards. Like that. There's no ring on here, but this one looks pretty good. I don't think this thing's ever been off. Doesn't look like it. snug. You can see that a little bit better. So this top one's a Tappet screen. We took that out and cleaned it. This one is the bypass valve and spring in here. And I believe that can regulate your oil pressure. You put a little stronger spring in, or some people stretch it. And the one back in here is the check valve with the ball. And usually on that ball, you'll get a little bit of dirt, or maybe it's not seating properly, and then that's why your bike wet sumps. It leaks into the crankcase, and then when you start it up, you pump it out. So to remove that one, I got to remove this top oil line. This one still has the factory clamps on it, so I'm going to have to cut it and get that screw out and check the valve. And then there's a little trick that you can, how you can seat it. Try to seat it a little bit better, but we'll look and see if there's any damage first. Down there. Both of them fell down there. I don't think they're magnetic, eh? Get it off with this one, I hope so. I had to give a little tap like that. Wish I had the tool. This bike's sumping quite a bit. Sits for a couple of weeks and it'll pump out half a quart of oil. It's a very light spring that holds that ball bearing down. I've got another spring I'm going to measure it against. The ball looks perfect. very hard to see the seat in there. I'm gonna stick a rag in there with a little bit of cleaner on it and try to wipe that seat off. Q-tip would be good. I should go get some. Just looking to see if maybe there's a bit of dirt on there or filing or something to hold it open. Looks pretty clean. So let me check it against the other spring I have. This is a spring out of that spare motor. I just want to see how it compares in length. And they're both about the same. The spare one might be a little bit longer. Yeah, it's a little bit longer. I might go with the spare one. But before I do that, okay, so this is the longer one here. I'm gonna take this ball. I'm gonna put it back in there. And then I've got a dowel here somewhere. I just got a wooden dowel. What some guys do is they'll take a spare ball and they'll weld it to a rod to give a little tap in. I'm just gonna use a wooden dowel in there. Just give it a couple little taps to seat it, you know, a little bit. Just make sure it's going to come out. Still works. Put that back in there. Spring's a little bit longer. I'm going to put a little bit longer spring on there for more pressure. Okay, let's put this back. Get a hose clamp. use compression clamps, not those screw clamps. Fuel injector clamps, they're called. Just wonder if I should have put it the other way, I don't know. Screw's a little bit long for that one. All right, that's on there good. I called Harley today. There's a number you can call and find out information about your bike, paint codes, and production numbers. And yeah, this bike is pretty rare. They're rarer than the Fxrs, the classics. No, Fxrs Classic, I think they are. And those, there was 1,250 made, and they have a limited edition number plate they put on the triple tree up here on the handlebar clamp, and they're all numbered. And these SP ones, the Fxrs SPs, there was only 1,001 made, and he told me the breakdown of the colors. I didn't get all the colors, but of the blue, there was 194 blue, and 191 red, I believe it was, right around that area. This bike was supposed to be red, he said. I think that's the third digit after, if you've got the EBL or EGL, I think the L is red. I think that's how he's getting that paint code. But yeah, he said this bike was supposed to be red, and when I had this tank off, I think I was showing you before there, you could see red paint under certain areas at the back there where it was chipped, or the original paint was red on it. So somebody has painted this bike at one time. I kind of like the blue. The blue's kind of different. Probably leave it like that for now. And it's called Candy Red and Candy Blue. That's it for this video.